On the Fringe with Dan Radio Style. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. Major stuff going on. I think this is clickbaitish, so I apologize just up front, But there is some rumor floating around that there might try another switcheroo. I don't even know how that's possible. That's what the article or thing even mentions. It's like, is that even possible? Like, ballots have been printed already. So kind of an insane idea, but at this time, I kind of entertain a lot of things that I think are too crazy to be possible, right? Because their next steps after trying to switch again would be something to the effect of postponing the election because we need to get these people on the ballot. I mean, I don't know. That's all I can say. I don't know. But hell, it's a lot of fun trying to figure it out all along the way. Pretty good post here. This is why. This picture of Barack Obama. On December 29th, 2012, President Barack Obama signed H.R. 4310, the 2013 National Defense Authorization Act. Section 1078 of the bill authorizes the use of propaganda inside the U.S., which had previously been banned since 1948 when the Smith-Mundt Act was passed. Just to remind people. Also, a good reminder. A country run by banks will always be in debt. Healthcare run by big pharma will never cure diseases. A state run by war will never know peace. A nation run by the media will never know the truth. And here is, I got some pretty interesting stuff that I snagged today. It's pretty sweet. Tori says, like, sometimes she just got some rock gems, man. Good stuff. And she did not disappoint today. In fact, there was another thing I was going to share, but that was a little too far a bridge. I would have lost way too many of you. So not worth it. But this is a Russian game, if you will, was created. And it taught us something very important. And this was his thesis. And this has actually demonstrated itself with multiple groups. It's a minute long, and it'll explain to you how easily it is to manipulate the herd.
Have you ever heard of a game called Werewolf?
No.
Everyone gets a piece of paper. It's either got villager written on it, but two have the word werewolf. Someone runs the game to make sure no one's cheating, and they go, okay, it's nighttime, everyone close your eyes. Werewolves choose someone to kill, and the werewolves go, they say, okay, everyone close your eyes, it's morning time, open them again. During the night, Francis was killed. There's then a conversation, and this is where it gets interesting, between all the villagers and the two werewolves over who the werewolves are. Then at the end of the day, the villagers have to decide who they're going to kill, and they say, well, we're going to kill Constantine. It's revealed by the person running the game, I'm afraid Constantine was a villager. And the game continues. The villagers win the game if they kill both werewolves. The werewolves win the game if they kill all but two villagers. And the werewolves usually win. The game was invented by a student of sociology in Russia who wanted to prove his thesis that an uninformed majority will always lose a battle of information against an informed minority. So that just shows when you have hidden information, you can completely manipulate a large group of people.
It's what they've been doing. It's what they still do. It's what they'll continue to do until we pull ourselves out of it. And I don't mean our collective selves. I mean you pull you out, me pull me out, your neighbor pulls your neighbor out. Like, ultimately, we each have to figure this out within our own little internal dialogue. And if we don't, we're going to lose. Now, this kind of just illustrates a few things to me, like a bunch of stuff. And it's funny, is I think a lot of people will see everything, well, a lot of people will see it differently, I guess. We'll see. But this is a kids section in a bookstore. And they're saying it's who's not trying to indoctrinate kids? And I would say yes. I think a lot of people look at this and go, see, they're marketing this to the children, right? They're trying to get the kids to accept this and see this as normal. But I don't think that's actually it. And this is where my typical argument with we've got to do it for the kids always comes. I had someone ask me one time on an interview they did with me, and they're like, well, shouldn't we do this for the kids? And I'm like, no. And they were taken aback. And I get it, because that's not the answer you're supposed to give. But let me qualify this. And this is a perfect example. Children don't buy themselves books. Now, they might find them in the library, but this isn't a library. This is a bookstore, you can tell by the way it's marketed. They don't waste that much space in a library. This is about selling. So parents buy the books. If a parent looks at one of these things and feels some sort of white guilt or whatever the hell they call it, and buys these books for their children so their children don't get picked on and feel the same shame that they feel as a parent, then they can feel better about themselves. But my point comes back to this. It's not the kids. It's the adults. Every child's got a parent, with the exception of the 300,000 that have been smuggled into this country that aren't, that are parentless, that are being trafficked for sex and work and all sorts of other things. Minus those 300,000 children, we have adults that handle all of them. They're the ones that let them eat the things they shouldn't eat. They're the ones that let them be the little rude behaviors they are sometimes, or maybe the ones that are being good role models. But ultimately, it comes down to the parents. Parents need to parent. Parents need to do their job. Parents need to raise their kids. Yeah, the kids are going to learn weird crap at school, but if you're actually being a parent, I think you can parent through a lot of that, if not all of it. Maybe if you're lucky, you'll get one of those shirts that, or one of those kids that wears a shirt to school that they get in trouble and end up in the Supreme Court. Again, I know the kids are the important part, and that's like a silly argument. But to me, it loses focus from the problem, and that's the adults aren't doing their jobs. And because of that, children are in danger. When you focus on the child, you're never, ever, ever going to solve the problem, which is the adults. That's what needs to happen. So do I focus on the kids? No. I care about them greatly, and it's a horrible tragedy. But the problem is the adults that causes this kid problem that we're all focused on. It's a red herring. It's not the actual problem that we need to fix. It's actually caused because of the problem we need to fix. Kind of a funny meme here. This Cube Tips does a really good job with memes. We got all kinds of taxes, Forrest. There's federal income tax, payroll tax, sales tax, estate tax, gift tax, corporate tax, inheritance tax, property tax, gasoline tax, state income tax, capital gains tax, death tax, excise tax, import tax, home improvement tax, school tax, sin tax, road use tax. They even tax our pets. That's about it. That's when he was talking about all the different kind of shrimp. Got bubble gum shrimp. Slavery. If stealing 100% of the product of someone's labor is slavery, what percentage is it not slavery? Question being, of course, taxes. How much are they allowed to take before it's slavery? And then at what point does it become slavery? We as a society should definitely decide that. In fact, a lot of people, I saw the post, I might still have it up today, we'll see, I think I do, but talking about how the Federal Reserve's got to come down, and if we got rid of all the central banks, their income tax would go away as well. And all the country would have to do is charge like sales tax or something along those lines, is what they describe as sales tax. And we'd be fine. Country would pay for itself. Be interesting to see how much of that, because again, there's so much money wasted maintaining the bureaucracy and all the stuff that happens that's, fleecing. Like when you look at all the government money and all the stuff that's spent and all the stuff that's just blown out of proportion. Yeah. Especially when you look at this. Global government debt to surpass 100 trillion for the first time. Hell, we're 36, 37 trillion of that? Just us. A third of the world's debt. This is the central banks spiraling. This is inflation happening in insane levels across the G7 countries, the Western world, the richest countries for the most part. China's not, so I should take that back. The former great countries of the world, all a mess now. Just like we saw on the Georgia Guidestones, by the way, that's what they were trying to do. Now, they didn't fully succeed. I still say that I think we stopped them a long ways into it, but we stopped them nonetheless. Thank God. It could have been significantly worse. But the system most likely is collapsing. Good friends, if you're in a 401k or an IRA, or if you're sitting on some cash, you might want to consider getting some precious metals. It's actually a solid investment right now, and dollars and stocks right now are both losing value as far as purchasing power because of inflation, and it's a bubble. So, easy way to get out of that system, tax-free and penalty-free, by the way. So that means you're not going to have the precious metals sent to you. That's the same thing as cashing out your 401k. You get taxed and penalized. You get raped. Not worth it. You can move it sideways. They put it in a trust, so it's not in your physical possession, but it is, in fact, physical gold or silver. It's physical, actual physical metal. You own it. It's yours. If you decide, hey, I want to take any sort of extra taxes or penalties, I want you to send me my precious metals. I'll pay the difference with cash to the government or whatever. I don't know all the ins and outs. I don't know if they can let you. I'm assuming they can, which might turn out to be a good idea at some point. I don't know. I'm not saying you should do that. What I am saying is you have options that you don't currently have when you're sitting in stocks and dollars. In fact, your big option is you're probably going to lose some wealth. Maybe a lot of wealth, which is what many are expecting. DRSlikesgold.com. DRSlikesgold.com. Get out of their system. Get into a precious metals-backed IRA. Protect your wealth. If you spend all these years amassing it, it would really suck to watch them remove a third of it to a half of it just in 1 or 2 days. Wouldn't that suck? Because they're going to stop trading and stuff, which is going to prohibit you from being able to catch up. They're going to let all the important people trade first. And then they'll worry about us. You guys know it. They don't care about us. They care about them. Don't be stuck in their system. Take control of it. You own the physical metal. It's your wealth. It's yours. It's protected. And right now, gold and silver prices are going up, have been going up a bunch this year. And it looks like they're going to continue because of what's happening with inflation and everything else. The way Biden and Obama or Kamala are ruining this entire economy. It's a mess. Get out of their system before they get out of you. DRSlikesgold.com. DRSlikesgold.com. It's freaking going to be a mess. You watch. It's going to be a huge mess. Where'd that go? We skipped it. FEMA. Man arrested for allegedly threatening to harm FEMA workers in North Carolina. Remember how we talked about how they literally evacuated like 2 counties? FEMA did because 2 trucks were driving around with dudes with guns. And so they evacuated FEMA. National Guards are the one who saw them, by the way. And the guy said, we're hunting FEMA. National Guard saw them, and they're armed. And they didn't go shooting at them or anything like that. And nobody shot at anybody. They were just looking for FEMA. Needless to say, they arrested a guy. William Parsons, 44, of Bostic, North Carolina, charged with going armed to the terror of the public. Basically being a terrorist. Now, again, don't take matters into your own hands, folks. If we're doing militias, then we've got to do it carefully. And if you're doing that, don't be saying stupid stuff like we're looking for FEMA. Never. You are allowed to protect to a degree, but you must be very, very careful, especially when you're dealing with the government. Just got to be careful. We have rights, but we've seen those stripped. You guys know that. So just be careful, folks. I get how angry we get, and I also get that this is our land and we should be able to defend it. We've got to play this game carefully. That's all I can say. Got to be really careful, in fact. FEMA accused of dodging work after canceling hurricane help over bogus report of armed militia. This dude, now he looks very threatening. He's got bags under his eyes. He obviously doesn't sleep enough, So that makes sense. And again, this dude probably, I don't know. I'm going to assume probably he's doing something he cares about his neighbors, right? And just got pissed. I get it. I do. This is what happens. And then they'll make you the image for everyone else to see. It's very communist. China does that too. They have these crazy little desks that they lock people into. Literally, you're locked into this desk. There's a bar going around your chest, and your arms, your hands at the wrists are literally bolted down to a table. And then they just talk to you for a long time. And they do it to intentionally cause fear amongst others. This is what they do. So just be careful. That's all. Did not expect this. Rep Luna got a phone call from Joe Biden. They talked for about 10 minutes. Actually sounds like it was a reasonably good phone call. Biden seemed to ask her, what do you guys need? Are you okay? Are your constituents okay? He actually asked if they were okay first, supposedly. Or at least that's how Luna told it. And then asked, what can we do to help your people? And I like Luna, and Luna seems to be one of the good ones. And she's saying this, which again, Biden, I think right now is trying to, help Kamala look good by being a good president right now, because all the shitty stuff he's done is actually making Kamala look horrible because she's been a part of it and wouldn't change a thing. Her words, of course. So I just don't know. But I always appreciate and I want to give credit the few times that ever happens where Biden does something cool. Want to make sure I don't miss out on the opportunity. Want once in a while. Donald Trump truthed this out, and posted this. I guess this looks like truth, but it's green. Why is it green? Isn't that truth? Don't they have that same little funky? I think that's truth. Anyway, it says, never gotten over the fact that Obama was able to send $1.7 billion in cash to Iran, and nobody in Congress, the FBI, or Justice called for an investigation. Right? Donald Trump has a phone call with a guy about, hey, you sure you don't want to just look into something? Bam! They want to impeach him for that. But you can send $1.7 billion to a terrorist organization, or one that supports and funds a majority of the terrorists on the planet. That's, I guess, known, right? That's what the Iranian deep state government does, right? California Rep. Bill Essayli, there we go. He sent an official letter to the California Coastal Commission demanding records of communications regarding their decision to retaliate against Elon Musk and SpaceX for his personal political views. He says, this dangerous and illegal decision threatens our national security and erodes the public trust we place in our officials to act in the best interest of the people, not politics. He adds, in America, we protect the First Amendment. We cannot tolerate the government wielding official power to punish citizens for expressing their views and beliefs. I hope he's able to get something out of this, but at least we got some people here in California starting to make some noise. And by the way, this kind of behavior is, one, bad for business. Two, it is bad for national security, national defense. He wanted to launch a rocket out of Vandenberg for another company, and it was involved too. And they're like, nope, I'm not going to let you. California, that's stupid. You get paid a shit ton of money to launch rockets, and you don't got to do a damn thing except collect. You guys are idiots. I say you guys, I'm pointing to the people that are in charge of this stupid state. It's a beautiful state, actually. I mean, I love it. I love it here. That's why I deal with the crap. Someone's got to stay and fight for it. I'm fighting for it. I love this place. More than 500 migrants in 4 large groups crossed into Eagle Pass over the weekend. Most concerning, according to a source with Customs and Border Protection, the number of special interest aliens embedded within the groups. These are those groups that come from Iran, Egypt, Afghanistan, Turkey, places that are... Venezuela is typically part of that group, I thought too. But yeah, these are the ones that tend to harbor a lot of the bad people in the world. Just saying. They just saw a higher number of these people seem to be showing up of late. Always makes us feel so much safer. Nearly 1/3 of the Border Patrol's surveillance cameras along the U.S.-Mexico border are not working. This is per the government source here. Nearly 1/3 are not working. 2/3 are, but still. 2,000 miles of border, and we're missing 1/3 of the cameras. And these cameras suck, but they're saying between 150 to 500 severe technical problems, like they've probably been destroyed, by the way. That's one thing that a lot of these cartel agents do. Remember, that was the thing that the deep state wanted to use. Oh, we'll just use technology, and Trump's like, no, we'll do a wall and we'll do technology. And then when you guys bust our technology, we'll know something's up and we'll get involved, right? Because they obviously are going to cut holes through fences and stuff like that. They've got technology to do that. We'll catch them, obviously. Or we'll face an October 7th. Yeah, we're in a tough place, guys. God forbid we require first responders to be minimally knowledgeable. This is pretty messed up, but the Biden-Harris DOJ sues first responders in Maryland and Indiana, North Carolina, and Georgia for discrimination over tests requiring basic math skills and fitness. Literally, they call it discrimination over math and fitness, to be a first responder, where you might have to drag somebody out of a burning building or something along those lines. The Biden-Harris Department of Justice has launched a myriad of lawsuits against various police and fire departments across the states that I listed that, quote, discriminate against black and female applicants after they required all prospective employees to take written as well as fitness tests. So it's black people and women that are incapable of taking a fitness test and or a math test? And you try to call us racist? How is that even remotely not considered racist? Sounds like you're saying black and female applicants are not capable of doing math and or exercise and being in shape, which is what you would want from a firefighter. I don't care if a chick's doing it. She needs to be able to carry hose or a person, right? So if she can't do that, do we still just let her do the job anyway, even though she can't actually do the job? I mean, you don't just let anybody operate on you, even though they stayed at a Holiday Inn Express, right? You just don't do it. It's not a good idea. You prefer to have somebody that, one, not only went to college to learn to be a doctor, but two, wasn't just graduated because of DEI or some crazy thing. Like, at least want to know you passed all your classes. Maybe not A's, hopefully. Black people can't take math, I guess, and chicks. All right. And this is overwhelmingly the people that are in the Democratic Party, at least originally. I think it's changing. Dan Scavino posted this in regards to Kamala Harris. She's talking about how she's going to create an opportunity agenda for black men. Now, after 3.5 years, she's going to finally help the black man. At least, well, actually 6 more months from now, when she's president, then she'll help the black man. So after 4 years of doing nothing, then she's going to start to do something. She's just been warming up, guys. Just been warming up. So, of course, Dan Scavino calls, didn't do shit for themselves for 3.5 years, but here we are 3 weeks before the election. Phony. Of course it is. Of course it is. Here's Stephen Miller. He's talking about Jason Miller's thing here. I guess Jason Miller posted first. The only plausible explanation here is that this is a 3D chess move to get Dems to drop Kamala in the waning days and substitute in crooked Hillary. First off, that's a crazy thought. Shouldn't even be possible, right? It's not. They've already printed ballots. It's too late. There was big hullabaloo. There we go, that word. Not a word. None of those were words, but that was the fake word that I wanted to use. All this hullabaloo legally around whether or not people could be or couldn't be on the ballots, right? Even RFK Jr. Was in that lawsuit, which is funny. I was just realizing I haven't heard of a peep from him for a few days now. What's going on there? Too much other crap, I guess. But now we got this DC gossip that Democrats are trying to replace Kamala. This would explain the aggressive counter-programming from Biden and Clinton. Explosive new plagiarism scandal adds even more pressure for a change at the top of the ticket. Not to mention what they did on Saturday Night Live. Many people are still wondering about that, though. I think Dana Carvey being on it, because he's gotten pretty pissed. Him and David Spade do a podcast that's very conservative leaning. So I felt like it was Dana Carvey's chance to, take things to the next level. And he might have wrote that whole skit, that whole opening skit. It wouldn't surprise me if Dana Carvey wrote that, and it would have been damn funny. And again, it came out great. It really did. So we'll see how things continue. Whether they can do this, I don't think they can do it. I don't think it's legal, but at this point, do you think that actually matters? I'm starting to say probably not. Am I really not subscribed to her? Oh, that's not really her, is it? Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, what the hell? Anywho, that's neither here nor there. New Harvard caps Harris poll. A strong majority of voters, Dem and GOP, think CBS should release the transcript of the 60 Minutes Harris interview. A slight majority says CBS edited it to make her look better. Now, the more important part is the image. 85%, which goes across all boundaries. It's 80% independent, 88 GOP, 87 Dem. That's the overwhelming number of people that are like, you should release the total transcripts. If you don't, that looks bad on you, CBS. Now, the 53-47% of people think they did it in order to make her look good. That sounds about right. But that's your standard. Kind of to me, that gives you an idea of who's in this poll, right? This is probably overwhelmingly left-leaning poll. Okay, some people claiming to be GOP that are probably not. Overwhelmingly left-leaning. And I'm going to say it, 53% that actually think they're doing it to make her look good. Yeah, I think it looks really, really bad. And then when you look at this number over here, it doesn't even matter. They're destroying. And again, I think it's left-leaning, and I don't even know how many people they actually did in this poll. Do they give us that number in there? A lot of the times they do. Sometimes they hide it because it's like a legit thing. But whatever. Well, it's a Harvard poll. Harvard-Harris, I don't know. That's probably a decent one. A copycat Kamala Harris campaign is reportedly in talks with Joe Rogan to see if she can be on his show. Now, Donald Trump, we already know he came out and that he was going to be on Joe Rogan's show. The podcast going to be the highest rated podcast ever. I think it's going to beat the X one, and I think it's going to beat the Tucker Carlson one, which I think will be huge. I don't think he's been on Tucker yet. Maybe he will, and he's saving him for last. I don't know. I don't think he's been on Tucker, right? But yeah, Trump is just dominating wherever he shows up. And what's funny is, and I don't know, I doubt, and I think my next post, I think talks about how Joe is not going to do it. No, I don't think Joe would actually do it. We'll see if he does. I mean, he probably would, maybe, to be fair. But what's funny is I think we'll see an enormous difference in numbers. I think most of us would boycott it for the most part. There's people that'll watch it because it's a train wreck, I'm sure. But a lot of people will intentionally not watch it because they want the numbers to be bad. When Trump's on, you're going to get an overwhelming number of people that are going to watch it. And so there'll be a huge difference. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I'm kind of curious. This is going to be fun. I'll definitely be watching it. I don't know if I'd live stream it because it's 4 hours long, but yeah, I'll definitely be watching it. It'll be as long as it is, maybe a couple hours. I don't think Trump's going to do 4 hours with Joe, though. That would be pretty damn cool. This is funny to me. This is, I guess, Kamala's campaign spokeshole, but I swear to God, I'm not only saying this because he looks like Karine Jean-Pierre, but when he talks, that's why I'm like, is this a male Karine Jean-Pierre, or is this her somehow still? Or I was very confused.
Let's talk about his opponent, Vice President Kamala Harris, what she's been up to, what she's about to do, which is a sit-down interview with Bret Baier on Fox News Channel. There's also some discussion we're hearing that she may do the Joe Rogan podcast, the most popular podcast in the country.
But if she does Joe Rogan, if she does Joe Rogan, that's an exact, she's aiming right at young men, right, which is a constituency that polls show that not just her, but the Democratic Party is getting a little shaky on, and those men are more interested, seem interested in Donald Trump. And so basically she and the campaign are trying to say, we're not scared to go in front of what folks might think is unfriendly waters or enemy territory and have the same conversation, right?
Meanwhile, and let's contrast that with Donald Trump, who hasn't sat for any sort of interview of any consequence, of any sort of, aggressive questioning in months.
I think that what they're doing with these media outlets where they're going to Joe Rogan and Fox, there are people who listen to Joe Rogan who will have never heard Harris speak. Right? They'll have never heard an interview with her because where would they have heard it? And so I do think there's this very smart tact where they are trying to puncture these media silos to get her out there because they feel that she is being misrepresented.
Is that Joy Behar? What the fuck is going on? That's too much weird. Too much weird at one time. I'm pretty sure that's Karine Jean-Pierre. Not sure. I don't know what just friggin' happened. Was that a Mandela effect there? That's Edge of Wonder call out there for any of you guys that are fans. Fannie Willis demands Nathan Wade not answer questions at his deposition tomorrow before the Judiciary Committee. How does she have the power to do that? I don't believe she does. Fannie Willis demands Nathan Wade not answer questions before Congress. Isn't she just a lonely old attorney general here in Georgia? Wow. Okay. Well, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Did I miss the other one? I feel like I did. Oh, this is a good point Tori makes too. Maybe you should look very closely at who endorses Kamala, practically have the whole Epstein client list and then some endorsing her. Think about that too. All the people that have had to come out and say, I support Kamala. Anybody that doesn't, stupid. Epstein client list. Guarantee. Plus some others, but all probably very guilty. That's why they're having to come out now. In the middle of just absolute people just scratching their heads going, I'm never going to watch any of your movies ever again. Like the ones that are already out, you've ruined every movie you've ever done. At least Will Smith did it by smacking somebody on stage, which was so inappropriate, but he didn't do it getting into politics. Good job, Will Smith. Probably not really something to celebrate. Adam Grant put this out in response. Oh, man. This is so damn funny. Adam Grant said, what's the worst career advice you've ever received? Monica Lewinsky posted, an internship at the White House will be amazing on your resume. Oh, plus you should wear a blue dress. I don't know if that was part of it. Probably was. Should have been. GOP consultant files lawsuit alleging identity fraudulently used to make Act Blue donations to Dems. Mark Block He's been consulting for Republicans for years. Apparently, he made a donation on Act Blue way back in the day. Let's say 2012? Yeah. And his account's been used to donate to blue candidates. One thing, and this is where I think he's got a real good case, and I think it would stand a chance, is if you're a Republican and you're actually trying to be involved in the Republican Party in some sort of significant way, right, like the RNC or something crazy like that, and then somebody digs into your past and they see all these Act Blue donations to Kamala Harris and stuff like that, well, dang, that's got to really screw with you, right? It will ruin you. So I think they've got a major court case, and if this is actually happening, especially to people that are, like, they should be able to opt out for sure of any donations without their permission. But I definitely think it demonstrates there is a fraudulent thing occurring. There's, I think, 17 or 19 states. I want to say it's like 19 states. As cool as 17 would be, I think it was actually 19. Because otherwise I would have remembered it. But yeah, this got to stop. I was hoping this would have stopped sooner. Now would still work, big time, but this was like their major finance arm to the politicians, and this would have destroyed deep state politicians if they would have been able to take down Act Blue prior. But whatever, they're making huge strides, and it would not surprise me if we at some point get a cease order, a cease and desist or something, where they literally will have to stop doing donations for any period of time. And they're going to go, but it's campaign season. You'd be interfering with the elections. Like, but you donate equally, right? I mean, it's going to have to because they're illegally doing stuff. And that's the whole thing. They want to have all these holes in our election system software, and they're like, no, we can't fix it yet. We'll fix it after the election. So what, we're going to cheat one more time and then make it impossible for us to fight for it? We've been through this for 4 years. You labeled every one of us nut jobs. We know the same problems are still going to happen. It's insanity. So you have to stop. You have to get people off the registered voters that are dead, that are not citizens, like that have moved. These are 3 guarantees that I don't care if there's a Democrat. Of course, Democrats are going to say, well, they should be able to vote anyway. No, they shouldn't. And it does disenfranchise voters. So getting them to admit that publicly is awesome because it demonstrates exactly what their democracy is. It's not actual democracy. It's control. That's what the word means to them. Control. Mob rules. Otherwise, they'd be perfectly fine with having fair elections. Republicans always have been historically in the past. That's why we've gotten walked over, because we're idiots. When I say we, I lump myself in with you guys. Detroit agrees to narrow partisan gap in poll worker selection, settling lawsuit. So I guess they're going to do what they're supposed to do appropriately, because there was an actual lawsuit where they lost. So Detroit's going to correct its poll worker selection process to balance party representation on Election Day. They were going to cheat again. Remember Detroit? That was the one where they boarded up all the windows. That ain't happening this year. That ain't happening this year. Now, again, these people are going to be opted bribes. I don't think a lot of the people that are working polls would probably take it. I think most Republican poll workers, I should say, I don't think they're like, no, and I'm kind of not surprised you're doing this. No, thanks. This election, we're going to win. We're taking back control. Like, screw your $100 or whatever, $1,000. State court rules Georgia election officials can't delay or refuse to certify election results. This one bugs me a lot, but I get the point that they're making at least. So it's, a little bit of a weird situation. But the ability for shenanigans to occur in a particular voting location where you've got more envelopes than actual ballots, like you've got something wrong. Now, I think they've got a period of time where they can figure out what's up, and they should be able to adjust their correct ballot number or whatever, maybe. But to actually have such an erroneous situation where I can't certify this, there's literally so much cheating, it would take us weeks to figure it out. And they're like, well, you have to certify it. You have to, because otherwise then we can't certify our election and we can't move forward. And it's like, but if we cheat, we shouldn't certify the election. So this is a really weird catch-22. And I, frankly, would think if Fulton County, for example, one county F's up so much and can't be certified, then you don't certify the state. And you figure it out. And then we got some sort of weird constitutional crisis. Okay, we'll deal with it. But we're going to do this legally, not break the law just because it's easier to break the law again. That way we know for sure we'll have control of you, and then you can't do nothing to stop us, when this is quite literally probably the last election. And I know the deep state demis and all those sleepers out there love it when we say that. Oh, this is going to be the last election. There they go again with that rhetoric. It probably will be. So whatever. Like, would make the case, but I really am not interested in trying to prove it, right? Like, I don't have the time. It's ridiculous what we're fighting against. It's like fighting with a child. It's so strange. In a 4-3 decision, the Ohio Supreme Court upheld Secretary of State Frank LaRosa's directive that prevents anyone other than the voter from returning an absentee ballot to a drop box, even on behalf of a family member or individuals with disabilities. The ruling follows a lawsuit filed by Ohio Democrats challenging the August 31st directive, which LaRose said was designed to safeguard election integrity and prevent ballot harvesting. Well, apparently the Supreme Court upheld his decision. Shucks, Democrats, you lost one more opportunity. Keep this in mind. The FBI raided Rudy Giuliani's home, even though they knew Hunter's laptop was real. Same people. It's one of the things. I don't think they raided his home, and that's not why he got in trouble for the 2 election worker ladies, but big part of what happened, why he was quote-unquote called a liar. Yeah, they knew the laptop was real all along. Dude got railroaded like so many other people. Supreme Court on Tuesday revived the case of a citizen journalist who was arrested in 2017 for seeking information from a police department source in Laredo, Texas. The court threw out a decision against the journalist and ordered the appeals court to look at the case again. Priscilla Villarreal, who posts her reports on Facebook to more than 200,000 followers, was arrested under a Texas law that makes it a crime to seek non-public information with intent to obtain a benefit. Villarreal, whose case was later thrown out, wants to sue police and prosecutors. Though she doesn't work for a traditional news organization, Villarreal has a significant following in Laredo. She now also has the backing of some of the nation's best-known news brands, including the New York Times, the Washington Post, are also supporting her case. Now, the journalism of the last 2.5 centuries would be unrecognizable without the right to seek answers from public officials. I agree with this. I think she should be able to. This is like, I think one of those things where cops don't like it when you film them when they're doing stuff. They get a little uppity about that, but I kind of feel like they shouldn't be. I mean, unless you're literally doing some sort of weird investigation or sting, well, yeah, we shouldn't be filming that. But if you're shaking somebody down and we're filming you, yeah, tough shit, man. You're on camera. You better do it right. Seriously. And they also shouldn't be able to hide stuff from the public. That's another thing. And this is kind of where we've gotten to a lot of the problems we have. I'm not exactly sure where Laredo is. I feel like Laredo. I feel like that's, I have no idea. I'm not sure what county it's in, but it strikes me as somewhat liberal thinking. I don't know if that law is across the state on the books. It wouldn't surprise me if it is. Some things need to change in Texas even still, like everywhere else. Fannie Willis demands Nathan Wade not answer questions. Oh, here it is again. So we actually have, the whole article that they're trying to do. This is pretty funny, though. She's literally trying to say he shouldn't have to answer these questions. I don't think Fannie Willis has any place to make those calls at all, and so whatever. This is, I don't know, this is pretty good. This was, what's this guy's name? Whatever. I forget his name. Drawing a blank on it. Doesn't matter. One of the senators. I know that much. But he is, Howley, thank you. He's kind of nailing down Senator Granholm and her ridiculous responses. For some reason, I feel like I got snippets from this interview when they did it initially, but this one's gem, right? This is pretty good. Check this out.
Do you own individual stocks, Madam Secretary? You said no. In fact, you repeated it 3 times to me. No, no, no. Turns out that was false. You did own multiple individual stocks, and you neglected to report it to this committee for months afterwards. Why did you mislead this committee? Wait a minute. That was exactly my response. Why did you mislead us, and what were you hiding? You made millions CNN reports and stock options at Proterra. Then you promoted Proterra stock and Proterra products as energy secretary. Was that one of the stocks that you sold?
This is so... I mean, really.
Was that one of the stuff? So, yes, really. You are presiding over institutionalized corruption in your energy department. You have violated the Stock Act 9 separate times. I just want to know who really runs the energy department. Is it you, or is it the mega corporations whose stock that you own that you're making profits in?
My goodness.
Or maybe it's the foreign billionaires who fund your conferences. Let's try something else. Do you know the names of the foreign billionaires who fund the conferences you go to?
I have no idea what you're talking
You don't know the stocks, you don't know the billionaires, you would take no responsibility. Meanwhile, your energy department, executives in your energy department are trading stocks in companies that they have direct oversight over, and you were too.
Yeah, that's really messed up, huh? That's the problem we've got. One of the many problems we got. Pretty funny. If Trump was guilty, why did the J6 Select Committee destroy all the evidence they compiled against him? One of the heaviest pieces of fact that I'd love to, I don't know, I haven't tried that on anybody yet. I'm curious if any of you guys have, but yeah, that's a fun one. What do you got to say about that? Why'd they destroy all the evidence then? If they had such a clean-cut, shut and dry case, why can't we see the evidence still? Why'd they get rid of it? Now that they don't have control of exculpatory information, for example, one of the biggest things they were accused of. Pelosi admits she hasn't spoken to Biden since she forced him out of the presidential race. It basically talks about how she had to do the right thing, get him out because he couldn't win, blah, 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 right? So, yeah, she still hasn't talked to him. Big whoop, but she's obviously still in charge. Biden warned Iran that killing Trump would be an act of war. Why is that? Now, again, killing an American citizen, certainly one that's running for president, that's an act of war just anyway. But killing someone that's potentially the commander-in-chief anyways, that's even worse, right? So interesting what's going on. Is he speaking on behalf of somebody else? I believe so. Basically, they said, look, Biden, you got to say this or else we've got all sorts of dirt on you, dude. Come on. You don't want that right now, not right before the election. Blackmail can be used both ways. That's the fun thing about blackmail. Maybe that's why they haven't released the Epstein list yet. You ever think about that? Because maybe the white hats are blackmailing those guys. It's funny, things can be used both ways. And most of us give so much credit and power to the deep state. I don't think you realize how far the deep state has fallen. And we're still not even done breaking them yet. Not even close. Here's Donald Trump on total savage mode to this dude, right to his face. He's telling him, you suck.
What does the Wall Street Journal know? I'm meeting with them tomorrow. What does the Wall Street Journal know? They've been wrong about everything. So have you, by the way. You've been wrong about
You're trying to turn this. You're trying to turn this.
You've been wrong about
No, you're trying to turn this into debate. There are business people. There are business
you're wrong.
people.
You've been wrong. You've been wrong all your life on this stuff.
For any of you guys that check, for how many of you guys that have watched any level of Trump stuff, how often does he cross his arms? It's very rare. It's very rare. And that's a major body language thing. It's very closed off body language. There's no ways around that. So kind of cool and interesting. But yeah, this guy was being a douche hole, I believe, which is what you would expect from him. But again, Trump is not afraid to go into the heart of the lion's den. He continues to do it. Kamala Harris can only take softball interviews or she gets destroyed or they end up having to edit it after the effect. Massachusetts town issues $100 a day fine. A cease and desist to a resident projecting Trump sign on the water tower. Now I can get why that's illegal. So, I mean, I'm curious if the guy's going to take a few days of fines just to make a point or something, or like maybe take donations, like get a give send go. Well, it can't be give send go, or you'd have to wait. GoFund. No, you can't do GoFundMe. Give send go is the one I would recommend. Sorry, they actually are better. But yeah, Go F Me doesn't. They'll drop you in a heartbeat. But again, yeah, $100 a day. It's like, yeah, we could probably run that until the end of the election. And the city's argument, which is fair, is we don't want people to think that the city somehow condones Trump. Like we don't want that to be said. And the dude's like, fair enough. I'm going to leave it up there anyway, because I think everybody knows it's not you guys. It's me projecting it at this point. So if you want to charge me $100 a day, like I said, I'm curious how much money he's got, and I bet you he could make a bunch of money. Probably keep that thing running for a year. I don't know, something to think about. They'll probably try to change it, but we'll see. Donald Trump put 3 truths out that were pretty strong. Well, Lion Kamala, after having turned down the Fox News debate on September 4th, which I accepted, is now saying she wants to debate, despite the fact that the votes are already being cast. The reason she wants it now is simple. She is losing in the polls and is desperate, will do anything. The problem is that Kamala can't do a simple interview and needs the fake news broadcasters like CBS to completely withdraw her answers on 60 Minutes, which was incoherent, and illegally insert a completely different one in order to make her look modestly intelligent. It didn't help, and 60 Minutes will be paying a heavy price for a long time. As to her completely desperate request for my medical statements, she is dying to see my cholesterol, which is 180. I have already provided them many times, including quite recently, and they were flawless. However, I have just seen Kamala's report, and it is not good. According to her doctor's report, she suffers from urticaria, defined as a rash of round red welts on the skin that itch intensely, sometimes with dangerous swelling. Sounds like herpes. She also has allergic rhinitis and allergic conjunctivitis, a very messy and dangerous situation. These are deeply serious conditions that clearly impact her functioning. Maybe that is why she can't answer even the simplest of questions asked by 60 Minutes and others. What is that about? I don't have these problems. And finally, I've put out more medical exams than any other president in history and aced 2 cognitive exams. The doctor stated that my cognitive exams were exceptional. I am far healthier than Clinton, Bush, Obama, Biden, but especially Kamala. Also, I am far too busy campaigning to take time from a 22 days left, as I am using every hour of everyday campaigning because we have to take back our country from the radical left people that are destroying it. So, of course, MAGA 2024. I can't believe anyway, we'll get there. Trump's campaign's senior advisor, Tim Murtaugh, responds to Kamala's call for President Trump to release his health records. Pretty funny, because he actually calls her out for what should be called out, and it's pretty brilliant.
All right, let's bring in Tim Murtaugh, Trump 2024 senior advisor. Tim, thanks so much for taking time with us. That was yesterday, obviously, the vice president rallying in North Carolina. Let's pick up where she left off. She's calling for your candidate to release his complete health file as opposed to just the letters put out by his doctors. I will say, Tim, at this point, we, the American voters, the public, know more about the former president than possibly any other A-list celebrity in the country. You know, his personal life, his professional life, his presidency. Why not just release the file to put an end to the Democrats' talking points on this?
First, I would say that Kamala Harris is probably the last person in America who should be talking to anyone about health records or things that doctors have to say, when she, as the vice president to Joe Biden, was the principal liar to the entire country about the condition that the current president of the United States finds himself in physically and mentally. So she is not the one to be delivering that. And President Trump has released his medical information from his doctor, who is a member of Congress, Ronnie Jackson, his former personal physician, who was also the White House doctor for Barack Obama, I would remind folks. But if she's going to be consulting a physician, what she really ought to be looking at is the health of her own campaign, because she is bleeding support from her own core constituencies, voters who Democrats ought to be able to count on. That's why she's paying very close attention now, 3 weeks from an election. This is not even base maintenance. She's having to go to black voters and Hispanic voters and people who are in the pro-abortion community, because she has to stop them from fleeing her campaign. This most recent wave of polls has got to be devastating. Heck, there's even a Washington Post story that says that even though she's raised over $1 billion, they're worried that they're running out of money because she has so many holes to dig herself out of that her campaign is running aground. This is a campaign that is in real trouble. People care about the economy and the border. They don't care about Kamala Harris waving around a note from her doctor.
Well,
I got a note, doctor's note. Yeah, I get to get out of class early. Yee. Yeah, whatever, camel. Whatever. Trump forced to cut Pennsylvania town hall short after multiple audience members experienced health emergencies. Pretty big deal. I don't know if we're going to play all of the video I've got. Long story short, just to get there, I guess it was super hot, and at one point he made fun of that. I don't know if we have that on tape, but he made fun of that, saying that the inflation's so bad they couldn't afford the air conditioning bill. But here's all the people that came out, and we'll get some of the video there, but all the people that came out, all the different headlines, right, saying that Trump he went silent, they thought he got stupid, and then they took one little snippet of film, again, where he kind of went, and then he's like, all right, and he started playing music, like he was just like, because he knew it was kind of the end of the thing. He knew this was, he knew what happened, and so he's like, all right, here's what we're going to do. And that's all you can do. Life hands you a lemon, you make lemonade. What else are you going to do, right? Or a lemon tart, or maybe some sort of, lemon meringue, maybe, if you've got the skills and the know-how and the other ingredients, because certainly just a lemon's not going to get you there. But all said, Trump bobbed his head to music for 30 minutes, an odd town hall detour. Trump turns political event into surreal listening party. Blah-bitty-blah-bitty-blah, right? All right, so here's ABC. It was ABC or CBS? ABC of all people. Actually saying all the stuff that the White House and Kamala Harris were saying, how Trump's thing was a big failure and yada, yada, whatever. And they're actually calling it out as a bunch of crap, a bunch of lies. ABC, of all people, is actually sort of telling the truth, it seems, in this moment.
Town hall event in Pennsylvania took an unusual turn after he was interrupted twice by medical emergencies in the room. Trump stopped taking questions and stood on stage for nearly 45 minutes listening to his soundtrack. The crowd slowly dispersed, but many stayed for what became an impromptu indoor concert. ABC News senior national correspondent Terry Moran joins me now for more from Pennsylvania. Hey, Terry.
Hey, Alex. So Donald Trump came here to the suburbs of Philadelphia, one of the critical battlegrounds in this battleground state, looking for votes. And it was scheduled to be this town hall event where he would be taking questions and listening to voters. And it turned into something else, as you say, when the candidate turned into a DJ.
Donald Trump, in his 11th trip to must-win Pennsylvania, urged his supporters to turn out on Election Day.
We win Pennsylvania, we win the whole thing.
Yes. In a town hall-style event in the western suburbs of Philadelphia, the former president stuck to his top issues, attacking Vice President Harris over inflation and immigration. He pledged to shut the southern border, end Russia's war in Ukraine, lower prices at the grocery store, and bring down interest rates to 2%, while providing few details on how he'd accomplish all that.
People don't think of grocery. It sounds like not such an important word when you talk about homes and everything else, right? But more people tell me about grocery bills, where the price of bacon, the price of lettuce, the price of tomatoes, they tell me. And we're going to do a lot of things.
But then, 30 minutes in, 2 attendees suffered medical emergencies.
A doctor, please. Doctor.
The incidents shifted the mood, prompting Trump to cut the question short and instead play some of his favorite music.
How about this? We'll play YMCA and we'll go home.
Trump kept DJing, and most of his supporters stayed for another 30 minutes of his playlist.
Well, in certain quarters of social media, people had a field day with that, and I guess on the screens it might have looked quite strange. Inside that hall, however, people were having a good time. What can I tell you? It did not seem out of the ordinary. It seemed almost intimate, and at the end, Trump did something he very rarely does. He came down off the stage and mingled with his supporters. He was signing autographs and shaking hands and the like. Today, he's doing an interview with Bloomberg in Chicago, and then
yeah, which is probably going to go shitty as well. But all said, Trump being a rock star. Now, here is Trump. This was, this was pretty cool. This is when the dude went down. Here is us. Here's our audience. Here is how we are as people. And it just makes me so proud to be part of this movement. It's just so much fun. Now, again, just the power of the fact that while this individual had fallen down and they were attending to them, there was this sort of energy present in the room, which is sort of like, I think, like prayers. Like, it's a song that everybody knows that's got God in the name. Not a lot of people know all the church hymns that we would probably want to break into. If we were in church and this happened, sure, certain hymns you would immediately go to, right? There's just some very powerful, great verses, but not everybody knows those. This was, again, just the way we're coming together. There's a lot of things I try to take into account when I'm doing analytics on what's going on. Doesn't mean I'm right. I'm just saying I try to take into account a lot of shit that, I don't know, I just don't think a lot of people look at. I don't know why. I wish they would. It'd make my job easier, frankly. Trump's legal team filed an appeal on Monday seeking to transfer the hush money case, in which he's convicted in New York State court to the federal court. We'll see. He's trying to get around the judge. Which one was it? Was it Mershon that kept saying no? Whichever. I think it was him that kept saying, no, I'm not going to transfer this case. Sorry. Stuck here. Like, it was just so weird. It was just a way like this judge could literally just own this dude. It was like, and I'm going to put you in jail, and I'm going to do this, and I'm not going to let you provide any sort of defense. Like, that judge is, I hope personally, one, he gets defrocked, debarred, whatever, right? DeBarge rhythm is going to get you. Like, I hope the dude literally gets some sort of public shaming. I do. I think he deserves it. I think he's been such an ass and actually ruined and tarnished the legal career, the legal process, the bench so badly that he needs to be shown to the public. Again, it's that whole game, right? That needs to be shown to the public. And again, a few people have secrets on our side too. It's amazing what you can do when you have a few secrets or you kind of know what's going on and you're trying to affect masses of people. People are, unfortunately, and people are very easy to manipulate. Very easy to manipulate. They do. I try really hard because there's karma involved with that, so I try really hard not to. That's like a constant thing. I'm sure I cross those lines every once in a while, but there's a karmic pay every time I do that, so I very careful. 2 men who were injured during the shootings at former President Trump's rally in Pennsylvania in July are speaking out, claiming the Secret Service is responsible for negligence and the security flaws surrounding the assassination attempt. That's good, right? The 2 guys that got shot that survived and the 3rd person that died, that probably should get some of this money too. But yeah, the Secret Service probably should be sued for the failures that they did. And then they had them happen again, of course. And so, yeah, not good. Not good the way these things are playing out. One thing we want to do is we want to keep ourselves and our animals alive longer. I love this company, Pet Club 247. They're awesome. They have some of the best products, and they've also got these products that, 1, don't have a bunch of chemicals in them. That's super important, and 2, have this Coriolis versicolor mushroom in them. This mushroom there's many studies. They've got the research to show it. There's over 400 studies that show the power of this mushroom in our immune system. You can't overdose on it. They've found that. There's no way to really get too much of it in your system. That nobody's been able to thus far. I mean, I don't know. There's other stuff in there maybe at some point, but I know people that have literally had tumors. There was a guy I had on my show way back when, Baby Trump or Chris Flex the Truth. He's got all sorts of names, Chris Eriks. All that stuff, all those people. He had a tumor in his throat, and he talked about it on my channel. This is what he did. He took a bunch of these, took a bunch of this stuff. Took like 3 of these twice a day and 3 of these twice a day. Probably more than that because he's actually a bigger guy than me, so it's probably 4 or 5 of them. But he was eating these things like candy. And yeah, we've had people that have talked about their animals, dogs and cats for sure, horses as well, that have had enormous positive benefits. There's just something weird about this mushroom, and I want to say use different words, but you got to be careful what you say. But Coriolis versicolor, it is an amazing supplement, and there's all sorts of wonderful products. I mean, for dogs, easy way most people get into it's the mush puppies. Mush puppies are like normally $28. We'll get to the right ones, but yeah, $16 to $22, right? The mush puppies, or they've got this one here with the Coriolis. What's the difference between this? The plus. It's probably got some the other mushroom in it too. I think there's one of them that has 2 mushrooms in it, and I don't know a lot about the second mushroom. I'll be honest. But all said, this is the one that people typically get into. So $30. But it's like a cookie. You give them 1 cookie a day and you're stoked. This is a liver treat. They've got these for cats and dogs. They got both. That has the mushroom on it as well. So it's $18. If you got a cat, there's an easy way to start giving your cat some of this mushroom just daily. And there are ways to get it more involved in their being. If they're sick already or got something going on, they've got the super sauce. You can add that to their normal food. They've actually got food that's healthy, freeze-dried. They've even got one that's like freeze-dried and like dehydrated or whatever, and you literally add moisture and it gets like 4 times bigger, and then it's got kind of a gravy and it's sort of moist. They've got some really awesome stuff, and it's all really high-quality ingredients. And these guys die too young. I hate it. I had to put a dog down. It was the worst thing I've ever done in my life. I hated it. I don't hate anything, right? But I friggin' hated that. It was a horrible experience. Go to danradiostyle.petclub247.com. danradiostyle.petclub247.com. I wish I would have had this because she had bad cancer, my dog. danradiostyle.petclub247.com. And it's been like over 20 years. So, it's been a long time. I still haven't gotten over it, but it's been a long time. We want these guys to live longer. And when you feed them properly and don't give them toys that have a bunch of crap on them, they've got some cool toys, by the way, for your dogs. But the ones that are made in China have lead and stuff. If you want them to live longer, that's the thing. There's already enough crap. We already put flea dips on them and weird stuff. We already put shots in them that are probably not good for them. There's already a bunch of crap we put these poor animals through. The least we can do is try to give them the best fighting chance, like we have to do to ourselves with all the things they've done to us over the time, right? Your little doggies and kitties are in the same world with you. Seriously, go to danradiostyle.petclub247.com. That's danradiostyle.petclub247.com. Seriously, just get something small. Start small. Or get into it, because seriously, if you've got a very sick animal, they've got a whole array of products. You're giving your animal healthier food and giving them a fighting chance, so it's a powerful thing. All set. All right, let's keep going along. I'm running a little long. This was pretty good. I'm not going to play it. It's 2 minutes, but it was, I think this lady, the way it was cut makes it sound like she was admitting to what they're trying to do to us, but I think she was actually spelling out what the World Health Organization's powers would be. Oh, hell. Let's play it. I'll try to speed it up a tinge.
We're undergoing a soft coup, and the idea is to create a whole new set of laws and ignore the existing human rights laws and other laws under the pretext of pandemic preparedness and the biosecurity agenda. The WHO is developing through all its nations, but with the WHO director and the United States in charge, a pandemic treaty and amendments to the existing international health regulations that will remove the human rights protections currently embedded in the IHRs, will enforce surveillance, censorship, get rid of freedom of speech, require governments to censor and only push a single narrative. Also, we will be subject, if they can make this work, to vaccines developed in 100 days, which the organization CEPI is planning to do. And one of the people who founded CEPI was Jeremy Farrar, who is now the chief scientist at the WHO, to bring this forward. Other things that the amendments do is to bind the states so they're no longer recommendations but enforceable edicts. Provide a liability shield, get rid of intellectual property rights, move supplies from one country to another, enforce digital passports, and the Director General of WHO can demand that a pandemic or a potential pandemic exists. He can just declare it with no standards, and then countries around the world will have to obey. Also, the WHO will tell you what drugs you can and can't use in your nation once a pandemic is declared. Obviously, the budget will increase. One Health is another part of this. One Health is a concept that was created to enable the WHO, with these documents, to take over jurisdiction of everything in the world by saying that climate change, animals, plants, water systems, ecosystems are all central to health. Also embedded in this concept is a peculiar notion that humans are no longer of greater value than animals.
Yeah, I did. I think I should have played it. Anyway, I'm glad I did. Drone swarms targeting U.S. military bases are operated by a mothership is literally what top Pentagon officials telling us. This is ridiculous, okay? This is absolutely ridiculous. First off, these drones are definitely, they're unidentified maybe, at least unowned. We don't know who the owners are. They sound like lawnmowers is what people have described them as. They're not even quiet, so I don't know what this is. This is strange. It's definitely not a UFO thing. They're trying to make a big, weird UFO thing. And what's also strange is now we're getting the same problem elsewhere. So amid swarms of drones buzzing Langley at night and suspected PRC, PLA recon op, Fort Worth has reported violations of the restricted airspace above Lockheed Martin's super-secret Air Force Plant 4, where the F-35 Lightning II supersonic stealth strike fighter is built. So here's my thinking. We're probably being spied on. That means if there's a mothership, is that another dirigible, another floating device that China has flown over here that we've chosen to ignore or just completely missed? that's maybe dropping drones at night, drones that might very well have explosive possibilities. Who knows? Maybe they're just spying on us. Oddly loud, though. Strange, which makes me think it's Chinese. I've been finding a bunch of information, folks, about China and their infamous powers. And what I've come to find out is China's very behind. They may be able to build a Gen 6 fighter or whatever. They are at Gen 2 when it comes to understanding just the tactical warfare component of aviation. Submarines, another example. They may be able to build a very fancy submarine. They have no idea how to sail them, and actually their building techniques are not advanced. That's one thing that advances as well, is how you join them together. They literally had one of their subs sink at port. It was at port. It had just finished being built, and they had it parked next to a pier right close to where it came out of the splash and went into the water. I don't know how they splash them in, but whatever, right? And it sank. So we've been told a lot of stuff. I don't know if they're as far along as we've been fearing. That's why they've been dumbing us back so hard, because our shit's so good. But nonetheless, they've got lawnmowers flying in the sky, it seems, and probably spying. Joe Biden's not doing anything about it. We can't get better proof than this, so I don't know how else we get better proof. That's what we need. We need this to be able to go viral. We need this to go huge, but we need proof. So we need someone in those two areas, by the way. If any of you all live anywhere near that, the one in D.C. or where's this one? The first one is, I want to say it's D.C., isn't it? Oh, Virginia, sorry. Close enough. But this one that happens at Langley supposedly is right after dusk. So if you're anywhere around there and you can get up there around after dusk, any place where you're not so close that you're actually going to get in trouble, don't do that. But hopefully have the ability to film this. Get a good camera, probably infrared if it's nighttime. I don't know how that works. But yeah, stuff to think about. It would be neat to get some proof if this is actually happening. And then if we can possibly get people to spot maybe from where the noise is coming from, then we can maybe plot back to where this mothership might be. We need people to fix this. This is, again, we need ripples on this, guys. We need people to be helping look into this. All right, some crap going on in the world. A couple things with Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro. He's accused tech tycoon Elon Musk of investing at least $1 billion inciting violence in the South American country. No way Elon Musk spent $1 billion inciting violence in another country. That's a chunk of money. I know he's worth $200 billion. He wouldn't waste $1 billion of it just messing with Venezuela. Nah, there's no way in hell. But whatever the case is, yeah, this dude's losing his mind all over the place. He just actually went after 40 people. I think he put them in jail or took away their passports, something to that effect. Yeah, he canceled the passports amid suppression of dissenters in Venezuela stemming from the events of his presidential election in July, where he stole the election. That's why we're going to call him president, but I'm calling him dictator. That's what he is. And he's pissed at Musk because Musk's been talking about it, and he's got a world platform, and that destroys this dude. This dude can't compete against that. Musk has, how many, 1 billion people that are like watching his channel? This dude can't, he's probably got, 50, I don't know how many people. It'd be cool if they had that number. I don't know if he's got a Twitter account, but nowhere near the coverage, right? So yeah, we got a funny little situation going on, and Maduro's pretty pissed off. Reform leader, UK leader, whatever, Nigel Farage. I don't know, the one guy that seemed all right that they had. I mean, I heard the Boris guys may be coming back, and I've heard it's maybe because they've just like, dude, this like we suck, and we really need to get somebody, and this guy's like the least suckage, so if he can like play the game properly, we can maybe use him. I don't know. Poor England right now. That's probably why they're so angry, and we can't tell. It's just a mess over there, and they don't want to admit it because, they're really good at stuff. They were anyways. Now we're all failures. We're all in this together, folks. Let's all learn together and have fun. So yeah, all said. Well, migrants supposedly attacked him there, made a threat on his life. Whatever. I don't know. Nah. I thought it was worthy of at least mentioning. I spent an hour talking about whatever, doesn't matter, but yeah, migrants supposedly threatened him. They threaten everybody. We've had it all happen. I'm not trying to minimize, but at the same time, come on. You don't get to maximize it. Ukraine's army recruiters are snatching men outside Kiev night spots, like outside nightclubs and shit. They're literally coming in and they're walking, because there's a lot of people that fake injuries and stuff. They get doctor's notes. There's a lot of corruption going on in Ukraine. So there's a whole like black market on trying to get people out of having to serve, which is good. We need to have some males of age-producing abilities, and God bless those guys when the friggin' dams open up. And he's like, all right, you got to make 3 women pregnant this week. That's your job. Really? I got 3 different women? Really? Okay. I mean, yeah. I get to just like, what, play video games and stuff for the rest of the time or what? Because that's like, I mean, that's about 4.5 minutes if I'm lucky. All right, all said. Yeah, so, yeah, they're literally just pulling people out of nightclubs. U.S. suggests military aid to Israel is at risk in a letter demanding more aid for Gaza. I thought most of the attacks are happening right now. And this is, you guys call me on this one, fact check me please, but the way at least the stories have been playing, or at least the way I'm seeing it, is that like Israel's rolled into Lebanon. They're not really like still like at war in Gaza and blowing buildings up in Gaza, like the Gaza Strip. No, I feel like they've sort of taken it over. Now, blocking humanitarian aid, yeah, this is still where I thought that dock thing was cool, and the fact that it didn't work made me think it was good guys that put it in there. I know we all blamed Biden and everything else, but I actually think it was good guys that put it in, and it got destroyed, weather, and I don't know, whatever. It was an easy way to bring aid in without letting it be the deep state bringing the aid in, because that's usually how it comes in. It comes in through the Arab side. They want to bring it in through there, which is where they bring in more rockets and more stuff like that. So if we can control the aid coming in, we know they're only getting food and water, blankets, whatever, my pillows, probably. I mean, right? So all that stuff's happening. But at least we make sure it's not rockets. I always felt that was the much better approach. I don't know why. But whatever the case is, and to me it makes sense why it got destroyed. Like it had no chance of survival. And it was just unfortunate. I wish they could have made it more resilient or whatever needed to happen so it wasn't so easy, because a SEAL team easily could have dismantled that, like just blown a couple special places during the storm and that thing's floating away. So not hard to do. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has informed the Biden administration that he is prepared to target military facilities in Iran rather than oil or nuclear sites, according to 2 officials familiar with the discussions. So we can't believe any of it. But this would answer that question that Biden's been worried about. Don't hit the nuke sites. And this is really the thing that's been freaking everybody out, because if you hit the nuke sites, that would be a forever hardcore act of war. But if they hit actual military sites, this might be a chance to take out some really, really nasty deep state sites and have cover to do it. This is a chess game, and a lot of people don't understand that either in war. A lot of people don't. It's a very sad thing, and it's very sad how many people have to die in order for these little moves to happen. But they happen, and you got people in the back room walking around back and forth, making tough decisions. All right, there, right? Like, and it's eventually you got to make the decision. So this will be interesting what this choice is, right? They're already publicizing it. They're already letting them know we're going to hit some special sites. Now, yeah, what those are, and if the deep state has a guess. Apparently, Taiwan detected a record 153 Chinese military aircraft after these drills. So these drills, what's going on right now is very, very strange. This is a huge, big, bold move by China, I think, to almost demonstrate that we're going to keep doing this. And at some point, and so it's expensive for everybody to try to constantly deal with this. You're putting a lot of hours in maintenance on aircraft, and you need parts to repair them. Every hour a plane flies, it needs maintenance. These things don't fly they're not like cars, right? You just give them an oil change, right? And you're good for like 30,000 miles, I think. No, not how it works. These planes are super, super high performance machines that require extra special love all the time. So that's not good. Now, China's got similar problems to a degree, though they've got more of a Russian design. I think Russian aircraft are slightly less maintenance heavy, but still nonetheless probably are maintenance problems unto themselves. North Korea did actually blow up one of its roads today. Boom. Let's see if we can check out this awesome raw footage of North Korea shooting their own selves in the foot. Here it goes. That's the foot getting blown off. Boom. No more foot. The foot is gone. Let's watch that once again. Bye, foot. Oh, we no longer can be possibly connected to the actual outer world. whatever, they did it. I mean, I think they're blowing up train tracks too, which is expensive to fix. Like, I don't know what's going on. Maybe that was, I don't know. Maybe that keeps North Korea or South Korea from rolling tanks into North Korea. Do we care that much about North Korea? I don't understand that at all. I'm just going to be ignorant there. I apologize. I'm an American, so I can always fall back on that. But still, like, why do we give a shit at all? It's not really our problem, is it? I mean, I get we want to support South Korea because they're democracy or whatever. But, like, okay, we don't give a shit about North Korea, though, do we? Other than don't attack us. We've got missiles. We'll shoot you back. It's cool. It's just you stay there. We stay here. That's cool. We got this. You guys keep eating bugs and stuff. North Korea just blew up a railway going to South Korea. Here we go. This is bad news. Only Trump can solve it. And this is Donald Trump. Truthed this out. So they did, in fact, blow up the trains track also. That's super stupid. Here we are. Mark Robinson suing CNN over black Nazi story. I don't get this one at all. North Carolina Republican gubernatorial candidate Mark Robinson is suing CNN over the story that he supposedly left comments on a porn website and then even referred to himself as the black N-word. I just don't want to say it because it ends up in text, and that's always a bad thing to say. But it's okay. First off. Second off, did you? Because he's not really, doesn't really sound like, because it said it messes up his career and all this, which I believe, and it could. But I don't see any place in there in the article, and maybe it's because it's The Hill, so I can't trust it. And they don't have him talking. So I'm hoping he's at least come out and said, I didn't do that. And then I'd be like, all right, cool. Then everything's like, yeah, F CNN. If CNN's got the goods and he's not trying to dispute it, he's just mad at CNN for ruining his career for reporting the truth, I think it's a tough road to go. So I'm hoping at some point somewhere he has said he's not guilty of this crime. Or, well, not guilty of doing this. I mean, I don't even know if it's a crime. That's debatable. I doubt it. If you've been on a porn site, cool. If you made stupid comments on a porn site, cool. That's not illegal. So, yeah, I mean, would it be bad for his image? Probably. I can't imagine that being good. Well, there's a group of people that might like him. The media isn't silent on child sex trafficking because of the children. It's because of who the customers are. Again, the adults. This is the problem. You focus on the children, then more children are just going to get brought in. It's the same idea of killing terrorists. You've got to kill the heads of the terrorists. It's kind of why what Israel's doing right now. It's not that I'm pro what Israel's going in and killing people, though, like I said, fact check me, I don't think they're in Gaza at the moment. I mean, they've got control of Gaza, I would say, and they maybe aren't feeding them enough or whatever. I'll give all that for sure, but I don't think they're bombing Gaza right now, are they? That's my only concern. Are they literally putting bombs, boom, boom, and blowing up Gaza? Or have they actually pushed the front out a little further, in which case they're now rolling into Lebanon like I thought, and I think there's some stuff going on towards the south or whatever. But, yeah, I don't know, guys. There's so much to try to follow. But, yeah, it's the customers, the Epstein list. We've talked about it. The adults. You knock out the adults, you knock out the children problem. Like that. That's where the problem is. That's how you solve this. You got to chop off the head. We got to stop chasing all the things that are getting created by the monster. We've got to stop the monster. That's key. And I think a lot of people right now, it's like the flat earth. They're like chasing things that I don't even think have anything to do with the monster. Like, all right, monster's in a flat earth then. Can you help me fight the monster? Like, who cares? I don't give a shit. It doesn't matter. Like, you're not sailing the seven seas, so I'm not either. I'm not trying to go into space right now. Doesn't matter. So let's deal with the problem, not the flat earth, right? Like, that, again, I'm not trying to be a dick. There's a whole bunch of these different options out there. It's just, the problem is the problem. That's what we need. We got some brilliant minds out there that are like burning up on like weird ass stuff that doesn't matter. 6 people. More. I don't know if these are repeat stories anymore. I think this is 6 more, or this was 6 from yesterday too. Because it wouldn't surprise me if they did that number 3 days in a row. I don't know. They got 16 going on down there too, including a man who was 16 at the time. So, yeah, I mean, Sean Diddy himself is probably guilty of. It sounds like. You know, I don't until he gets his day in court. It sounds like he's got a lot of people that have accused him of doing some salacious stuff. Now, Trump got brought up pretty good a number of people, but it wasn't like, what, 5, 4, 6? I don't know. I feel like there was Stormy and, a couple others, right? But most of the people didn't have much of a case or anything. Like, these people, I don't know. There's probably a lot of video and stuff. Especially, think about this. A lot of the people that got abused or put into weird situations and then was taken advantage of, and like they basically like blackmail them, well, they'd send them the video, wouldn't they? Wouldn't they send you a copy of the video or an image from the video and say, yeah, we've got you doing this. This is what you're going to do. You're going to help us. And so they probably have some form of proof, though self-incriminating, nonetheless, still proof. And there's probably, again, there's a lawyer that was talking about a whole slew of video he had. So there's some stuff that's out there. It'll eventually make its way to the front of us. Some DJ. Now, when I first saw this, I was like, Donald J. Oh, wait, where's the rest of that? Where's the T? Now, it was a guy. Now, I'm not trying to minimize it per se, but there's a guy driving home. I want to say it's Western Washington. Okay. Be over like Seattle area maybe, but KEXP, morning show guy. He was driving home. And he saw something what he thought was a soccer ball, so he was like being careful because he figured a kid would come darting out and run into a car like, children and deer do. Both the things seem to have just this propensity to be stupid. But he saw smoke coming out of said soccer ball. He's like, oh, shit. And then he like kind of stepped on it a little bit. And then, soccer ball blew up. IED, improvised explosive device, happening in Washington. Now, again, think of the places where it is happening. It's weird. I feel like it's going to be in some of our more radical parts of the country. This is crazy. I hope you guys listen to it. I actually hope you listen to it literally like 2 or 3 times. It didn't trip me out. I've seen this before. I've seen this done with other things in the past. I've seen this done in a bunch of different ways. And again, I'm not vouching for what's coming through. I saw another video where it was claiming to be Jesus. I don't think it was Jesus, but I do think a lot of the information it was sharing was unique. But people are finding kind of electronic Ouija board type stuff. But this one actually seems to be sending a message of light. And how do you know? You know because it's something of positive nature. It's not something that seems to point fingers, be negative, be bad per se. Like, it's trying to be uplifting. It's trying to give information. It's trying to answer your question maybe with a question, or trying to answer your question with something that illustrates it, because it's not always an easy answer. I feel like this was one of those things. Like, this hit me and I'm like, all right, I like what's coming through. Now, hard to pay attention to. They do put the words on the screen, which helps a great deal. But the words and what he's saying, or they're saying, a number of different things, what they are saying, which also gives it credit to me to a degree, what they are saying is letting us know what's going on right now. I don't want to spell it out better than how this spells it out, because this sort of does it in a little bit of a weird way. Again, I would recommend listening to this 2 or 3 times. This part, not the whole video of mine, though great if you want to, but no, this part specifically. It's like a minute. It's incredible, I think. I don't know. You may not believe it. There's the law of confusion. Some people, if you don't think it's possible, don't believe it. It's not possible. It's not it. You're probably right. It's probably what you think it is. That's all.
This bigger thing we need to realize. Thank you.
Exercise.
An exercise in what? What are they preparing for? Thank you. Can you tell me more?
That easily could be people from a not too distant future, or it could be a few things maybe, but distant future, possibly, yes. Not discounting. Could also be the other timeline. because the timelines are now splitting, and that is really to a large extent what I think we're seeing right now is the actual splitting. The timelines are starting to become far enough apart from each other as far as outcomes that those that are on the dark timeline are literally starting to get pulled away. And I think this is part of that process of us really seeing them. Like we just lifted up the rug and we could see all the bugs. Or again, the analogy I like to use still is like you get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right? You put jelly on one side, a whole bunch of it, then put a whole bunch of peanut butter on the other side, chunky or smooth, however you like it, don't care, unless you're allergic. Just deal with my analogy, then I apologize. Just hopefully it doesn't make you sick. You slam the bread together, right? Now you got a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You're like, shit, I wanted to put a piece of butter on there or something weird, right? And you're like, okay, so you peel it apart. And as you do, the little bits of jelly and jam start kind of mixing. I think that's happening too. The little bits are coming with the timelines that they were trying to like help the other in, and they're like rooted back, and they're kind of, I think we're getting some of that. So I actually want to play this one more time for you guys. Now, again, jump ahead if you're pissed, or I'm already practically at the end. I've got a cool song that we're going to close out with, so do what you want. But I think with the understanding of what we're going through right now, the fact that a lot of people crazy like me are talking about this spiritual component, this larger side of this is also somebody that's asking questions and receiving answers. This thing's scanning at different frequencies is what it looks like to me. And so it's an interesting way to communicate. I've seen stuff like this before. It was in movies, I want to say 20 years ago. This is likely the outpouring of that. There's a beautiful piece of quartz they've got here too, by the way. Is that rose quartz mixed in with that? It's a gorgeous piece of quartz with some probably excellent energy used as an antenna. This is a dimensional radio. I can't prove it. So again, let's play this one more time, because I think you might hear it differently.
This bigger thing we need to realize. Thank you.
Exercise.
An exercise in what? What are they preparing for? Thank you. Can you tell me more?
Horses struck the tent. Horses struck the tent.
Now, with all the other stuff I said, timelines are what they are, and I think the timelines are what are going to define how bad or good this becomes. But this also very much sounds like a future not too far away. This is a trap. There's a lot of things where they're talking about there's a bigger thing. Now, they also talk about 7 moment. That one I'm not sure about. 7 is a funny thing that's just recently popped up in some of the readings I actually shared. I've got some books in the description below that I honestly think are really good books, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And I literally would not read advanced unless you're done with at least the first 2 sections. You don't have to read them all, but you should be at least kind of advanced enough because otherwise it could really mess with you. But the middle one, it talks about the 7. It's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then they all have actual different names that are extraordinarily hard to pronounce. I don't even know if I'm saying them right when I say them. So, but these 7 are supposedly the guardians of this kind of world, between the underworld and the upper world. And one of the many things that have been talked about are the cycles that are closing down. And the bad guys are going away, and they're fighting desperately. And I think they're trying to see if they can stop it from happening, but they can't. I mean, there's nothing that could stop it. They could shut down the internet. It'll happen a different way. It doesn't. It's a manifestation that's coming. So we're all going to live through something crazy. The internet could go down, undoubtedly, or could go down in specific places, but they've saved it all. Is what it sounds like these people are telling us. If it's anything, again, it could all be fake. I know I'm spending a lot of time on it, but I don't know. This one kind of hit me hit me close to home. I guess I'm going to cover this first before I do I'll close out with the Johnny Cash song because it's just a good song to close out to. And I have a tiny audience, guys. So I've had 80 votes. I just put out a poll on my Twitter, and it's funny. I just said, what is your most trusted source of news info? And I have Fox News as its own, and then I put CNN and NBC together. I thought that was just a good kind of grouping. ABC, CBS as a grouping, and then alternate source. Overwhelmingly alternate source because it's my audience, so I feel like a lot of you guys felt like that was a trick question or something. I was curious, but I gave Fox News its own little thing. I actually wanted to add like OAN and Newsmax, but I was only allowed to do 4 things. But I was just curious, and this doesn't count for anything, but I was just really curious where a lot of people are, certainly in my audience. So if you guys are bored and you do have a Twitter account, it would be cool if you maybe can help with the numbers. I only have it up for 24 hours. And my name is at OTF with DRS. I actually got chatting with a couple people yesterday. I'm not really good at this whole Twitter thing. I'm not good with like comments or texts. Like I don't know. There's so much innuendo that goes into conversation that I feel is missed when people just type like funny little short little things and like you're supposed to understand all the bullshit that they're implying. And you're like, where, huh? How would I know that? Anywho, it is what it is. But we are coming to a new place. And that's why I keep trying to iterate. I know it sounds crazy, but again, I'm teacher of teacher. I don't mean I'm special in any way, but it's just, you guys are the audience that I've been seeking. And my audience I feel is the right people. And we are going into a very unique time in history. That's why we're all here right now. This is awesome. Most crazy good time in history. And again, I believe, and we'll see how it plays out, I feel like I'm seeing the reality of it kind of playing out, but the dark is losing big time. The dark is being shown for what it is. I just think this is a change on this planet. This is one of the many things that I have come to understand through a lot of different means, that this planet no longer wishes to have that dark influence on it. That started back when the planet with Mars, where the asteroid belt between Jupiter and Mars is, that planet that used to be there, those people that once lived there and on Mars, at least the evil ones, came here, and that was during the Atlantis inception, and during that whole period of time, that's when evil really started on this planet. At first, it wasn't present. Most of Atlantis was done positive, but the evil quickly took over, and it took over the rest of the world, and it's why there was a war between Atlantis and Lemuria. Again, a lot of fun history on this planet that we just don't know about. The Sahara Desert, when you look at it, like something crashed there, or some sort of energy weapon hit us at one point. Like, there is history on this planet that many of us just have no idea how much different it really, really is. And again, ultimately it comes down to, as far as religion goes, there's one God. There's Source, and we all know Source. And then there's a lot of kind of local gods, and things get kind of weird when you get into it. But it's interesting. It's fun. It's fascinating. All said, I don't know. I talk crazy shit, but I can't help it. I hope I'm helping you guys in some weird, hopeful way. But that said, we're going out with Johnny Cash. God's going to cut you down. And he's referring to all these deep state bastards. We don't have to do the judging. It's not us. We just have to do the loving. And that's always the best way. Even in spite of evil and darkness, just shine your light on it. Don't be scared. Don't run. Shine your light on it. Shine your light on it. You are far more powerful than darkness. Little smallest amount of light will light up any darkness instantly. Small little lighter in a completely dark room, and you can still light your face up and people can see you if they're in the room with you, can't they? Yes. Light always wins. Welcome to the new world, everybody, because it's going to be a beautiful new world that we've never seen before. Hopefully it happens in my lifetime. I think it will. I think it's actually going to get quick, but we'll see. We've got it going on, guys. I love you guys. Where we go one, we go all. It's on the Fringe with Dan Radio Style and in advance. Sorry, YouTube audience, you guys probably didn't I'm not allowed to play this probably.